How's it going, everyone? Good morning, good morning. Today is a very special day for more than one reason. For one, finally, today is the day that we finally get to go and see Igor live. If you remember in my previous video, I was talking about how Igor and the bands that they're touring with, particularly Melt Banana, pretty much never tour the US, and that is true. So I've been waiting to try and see them live for a very long time, and today's finally the day where we get to go and see them live. And I'm super excited about that. But beyond that, the other reason why today is a very special occasion is because my husband Jacob has never actually been that far southeast. So he's very excited about today. And I'm excited to show him because I've been to Atlanta and Florida dozens of times, be it for concerts or just to get out of Alabama. You know, it's for me, it's nothing really new or special. It's been a while, but I'm used to it. Whereas for Jacob, this will be a completely new experience, and I'm really excited to get to finally show him something new since he's moved down here, beyond just a concert on its own. So this will be fun. I'm really excited for it because it'll be kind of like a double whammy. It'll be a really rare opportunity concert plus him getting to experience a new state for the first time. So that's going to be really fun, and I'm really excited to be able to be there with him for that for the first time ever. I'm just really excited to kind of see what his reactions to Atlanta's famously bad traffic is going to be like, because anyone who's ever been to Atlanta knows precisely what I'm talking about, where pretty much any time of the day in pretty much any part of Atlanta, the traffic is absolute hell. It really is. Thankfully, we're kind of in central Alabama to where driving to Atlanta doesn't take that long. It's roughly a 3 hour drive. They're an hour ahead of us, but that doesn't really matter. But I mean, 3 hours there and 3 hours back isn't that big of a deal. I can do a trip like that blindfolded, and it's it's just something that I'm really looking forward to. I'm really excited to do it and to kind of primarily see his reactions to the whole thing. I'm really excited for the show as well, make no mistake, because as I stated in my previous video, this isn't the kind of concert that I really expect to happen anytime soon again in the near future, because neither Igor nor Melt Banana hardly ever tour the US, and this particular tour was already scheduled for last year and they had to postpone it because of COVID. And again, if I'm not mistaken, Melt Banana in their 30-ish year career has only ever come to America maybe a grand total of 10 times. So it's one of those types of tours where I just don't see this particular lineup happening anytime again soon. So it'll be interesting to say the least. But for the sake of brevity, in case anyone's curious, here are the tour dates again and where they're going to be. Here at the show that we're going to be at the Masquerade, this one is actually now already sold out. I'm not sure about the rest of them, but this is now an out of date flyer as far as the low tickets sold out listing, because the Masquerade one is now sold out. So I don't know which of these others have also sold out since this particular version of the flyer was updated or posted. And this is from their official, Igor's official site. So, it, if you're planning on going to any of these shows, it would do you justice to check out any of these dates that are near you and find out. Because apparently, people who are learning about this tour and are wanting to go are either buying up their tickets as quickly as possible, or they're buying them last minute, and it's causing a lot of the venues to sell out rather quickly at last minute. So, just so you know, that there may be a few of these that aren't listed as sold out, may either be now low ticket or already sold out, where it's not listing it as such. I just figured I would kind of post this as just a, kind of a, just for a shits and giggles type of thing, because it's still really early in the morning for us. We went to bed really early last night to get our sleeping schedule back on track, and so we could leave very early. And yeah, so I'm still kind of waking up, so I apologize if I'm not the most talkative. Yeah, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it would be cool to see some of you at the Atlanta show if you've already got your tickets, or to see some of you in the comments talking about the shows that you've gotten to attend at, like Dallas, Austin, Houston, or Tampa, where they've already played, and share your experiences. Because the only thing that I'm currently worried about is the fact that Igor has changed both of their vocalists before they started this tour. And that's kind of a huge deal for them, considering that one of the biggest things about them was their vocalists. One of the most defining features about them. And now that they don't have them anymore, they have a pretty noticeably different sound. And they've been posting videos of their vocalists, their new vocalists, on Instagram and things like that. But fans have been posting live videos of their shows from, like, Dallas, Austin, Houston, and Tampa, I think. And it's noticeable. It's noticeably different than when they had their original vocalists. So that's the only thing that I'm even remotely worried about, is that it won't quite be what we expected it to be. But that's not to say that I'm not still excited. Either of us, for that matter. We are still very much excited to see them. Although, you never know what's going on behind the scenes with a band, whether it was a choice of, like, their front man, Gautier, or to kick them out, or if the vocalist decided to leave, or things like that. And I'm pretty sure from everything that I've been reading that they chose to leave, which is a shame. But it's, what are you gonna do? You, it's because from everything that I've been hearing, the vast majority of fans are wishing that their original vocalists were still there. Because in a lot of cases, when a band changes vocalist, especially in the metal scene, it's not too big of a deal unless that vocalist has a very definable sound that cannot easily be replicated. In which case, then yes, it is a very big deal, because everyone who is a fan of that band knows that whoever does come in to replace that person isn't going to sound like them. And that's understandable because, especially for a very well established band. Like, for instance, not too long ago, actually within the past year, I believe, Fear Factory got a new vocalist after like 30 years. Uh, Burton C. Bell left Fear Factory, and it was a big deal for their fans because he had a very definable singing style, vocal style, and the way he did his vocals in Fear Factory for all of those years. And so people were understandably very weary of who was going to come in and replace him because obviously after establishing yourself as that band's vocalist and that style over, you know, 20, 30 years, having someone come in and replace you, it's people are going to notice, you know. And if you're not doing a good job, or which is subjective of course, but if people feel as though you're not doing a good job, people are going to be vocal about it, and it's not going to do your band's reputation any good. And unfortunately for Fear Factory, that's pretty much what happened. You know, and it's nothing against their new vocalist because he hasn't done anything wrong, obviously. I mean, he trained as well as he could train as a vocalist. He was clearly a huge fan of Fear Factory. He knows all of the material, and he's done as good of a job as he possibly can do to sound like Burton. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, he's not Burton. And that's what fans care about at the end of the day, is that you're not him. You don't sound exactly like him, and that's why people are taking so much issue with it. And ultimately, that's the thing that I think is going to be the big deal with Igor switching both of their vocalists, which is a male and a female, and the male vocalist does pretty much only screaming vocals, and the female does a mixture of clean opera vocals and screaming as well. And Laura, their former opera vocalist, she had a very, very definable like style to herself. Like, she, when you hear her, you know it's her. And that was the big thing. It wasn't so much that they had replaced their male vocalist, it was the fact that they were replacing Laura that I think most people were having an issue with, because their new female vocalist is perfectly talented. She's a fantastic opera vocalist, and she also clearly, much like with Burton's replacement in Fear Factory, she clearly loved or loves Igor's material. She's clearly a fan of their material. The issue with this comes in the fact that she's not, in my opinion, and this is purely my opinion, but it does seem to be an opinion that's being echoed a lot across their fan base right now, is that she's not doing Laura justice. And it's not even the fact that she's not Laura, it's that Laura had such a very unique and definable style of vocals, and that this new girl's coming in and just pretty much doing very bland, cookie cutter style opera. And she's not really putting 100% into it based on what Laura was doing. Because if there's a clip, to kind of put it into context, there's a clip at the end of Igor's making of spirituality and distortion documentary right near the very end. It's like the last 2 or 3 minutes where it shows Laura standing there in a recording booth doing vocals for, I think, the song Overweight Posey. It doesn't say that that's what the song is, but that is what the song is. And she's it's one of those types of parts in the song where listening to her doing those vocals will send chills down your spine. It's beautiful and haunting. But then recently, Igor posted what is effectively the exact same part of their new female vocalist, doing that exact same part of the song to Overweight Posey, like warming up backstage before they go on for a show. Those same parts that Laura was doing versus what their new female vocalist was doing, it's a night and day difference. They really can't even be compared to each other realistically, because the parts that their new vocalists are doing have no diversity to them, if that makes sense. Whereas Laura was putting a lot of flair and oomph behind what she was doing and hitting very like girthy lows in her voice and then swaying up very high in her voice and doing a lot of very beautiful vibrato. And then you cut over to the new clip of their new vocalist doing this exact same part, and all she's doing, instead of doing these exact, trying to do her best, one would think, to match those like ups and downs in vocal tonality and vibrato and things like that. No, none of that's there. It's all just her slowly going higher and higher and higher and higher until like her voice is basically peaking, and she's just staying at like this absolute high, and it's almost grating to the ears. And again, I want to emphasize the fact that she's clearly a phenomenal and very talented opera vocalist, but the fact that she's not doing what Laura was doing, and that's the problem, is that she's not taking notes. She's not doing the original material justice, and I think that's what a lot of people have noticed, is that that's the problem, is that if she were, then there would be a lot of diversity, a lot of ups and downs in the vocals and a lot of vibrato, and instead of just going low, high, 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 and then just peaking, you know what I mean? And there's no depth to it, and I think a lot of people have noticed that very quickly, and I think that's why a lot of people are now worried about effectively the future, and not just the future of Igor, but their live shows as well, because Laura was notorious for putting on really good live shows, having a lot of energy. I think I've only seen one video of them live since they got their two new vocalists, and they do have a lot of energy, but they're not trying to do what the previous vocalists did that made Igor sound so unique and so special and made them such a beloved part of the metal world. And I think that's why a lot of people are understandably apprehensive about them right now. But all that aside, I got a bit lost in the sauce there and went off on a bit of an unnecessary tangent. Point is, I am still very excited to see them live, because who knows when I'll get to see any of these bands again live. And the same goes for everybody else. I do highly recommend you go to any of these shows. if you have the opportunity to. Because, like I said a minute ago, there's no telling when you'll get another chance, regardless of their lineup change, you know? And we're going to try and film. I know a lot of venues are against letting cameras in unless you're with like a filming crew or something like that. But maybe we'll be able to get some kind of good footage. I realize that, I've pretty much done and talked about nothing but music on this channel so far, and I don't want it to be only that. But, uh, yeah, at any rate, I think it'll be fun. I highly recommend everyone going to these shows if you can. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Peace.